This episode of the Major Spoilers podcast goes out to Michael Unit,
Kaylee Stenberg,
and Mark Mitchell. Thank you so much for your support. You can join these great people who are keeping shows like Major Spoilers going week after week by heading to patreon.com/Major Spoilers.
The Major Spoilers podcast covers news, reviews, and of course, spoilers, and goes into details about the topics discussed. So if you haven't read, listened, or watched the items we talk about, you might want to come back later.
I'm Matthew.
I'm Rodrigo.
And I'm Steven, and you're listening to the Major Spoilers podcast, the podcast for pop culture and comic fans just like you.
In this issue, we'll all be super amalgamated with X-Patrol and Super Soldier. The Wheel of Destiny spins the latest news in pop culture, movies, TV, and perhaps a merger or two. Batman takes to the sewers to visit old friends. The Green Lanterns take to the skies. The poll of the week takes up your attention. And the Major Spoilers podcast takes to the air. Dun, 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 dun. Come on, Ride of the Valkyries. Sing along, guys. Dun, 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 dun. No? Okay, fine.
Welcome to issue 756 of the Major Spoilers podcast. Thank you so much for downloading and checking us out this week. Ashley Victoria Robinson is out this week, and that's understandable. A couple of things going on with her. First, the Jupiter Jet, number 1, arrives on your local comic shelf tomorrow, today, whenever you're listening. It's out there.
She's making deliveries.
Well, she might be making deliveries. I know they have a couple of signings going on. I don't know if there's a midnight party tonight, but I know that tomorrow or Wednesday, they've got a couple of signings at their comic shops that they go to and frequent. Ashley had informed me that they are under that
Evacuation.
Not an evacuation, but under an alert for your area may be evacuated. Stay tuned because of those fires that have sprung up in north of Hollywood. So fun times. So we hope she is well and Jason is well, and we hope that everyone rushes out and picks up a copy of Jupiter Jet number 1 tomorrow. But in the meantime, hey, Matthew is here, Rodrigo's here, and I'm here. So, 3 out of 4 ain't bad, right?
Well, by volume, technically, we're still 80% here.
Let us do some news. On the big Wheel of Destiny this week, we have Disney to buy 20th Century Fox, ? The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina moves to Netflix, and 20th Century Fox is adapting Goldie Vance for the big screen. Let's spin that Wheel of Destiny. Let's see where it lands. Round and round it goes, and where it stops, only speculators and stock market analysts know. 21st Century Fox is apparently in talks with Disney for Disney to buy the film division of 20th Century Fox. Now, this is a rumor. There's been nothing official. If you contact 20th Century Fox, they will not respond. If you talk to Disney about this, they will not respond. This is the second time in about 3 weeks that this story has popped up. And man, has it got people either excited or scared or jumping up and down. And some people just, peeing their pants. But I guarantee you one thing that has happened in this, just in the talks, is that stock prices for 20th Century Fox have skyrocketed in the last couple of days. Now, what does this mean? If this deal goes through, it looks like Disney could snap up the FX cable network, the video streaming hub Hulu, the 25 or whatever percent that 20th Century Fox owns of that, the FX cable network, as I said, European satellite broadcaster Sky PLC, and other media properties, including 20th Century Fox Films, which would leave Fox with Fox Sports 1 and their Fox News channel and their other cable networks. Value right around $60 billion if this were to go through. I've got some thoughts on this, and I'm sure you guys do too. My first thought is, man, Disney, you're getting a little bit too big. You're starting to put your fingers in too many pies, and maybe under a different administration, without getting too political, this would be probably shut down because it's getting too close to being too much control of any one industry.
And, Disney is not the only one in talks. I understand Comcast is as well.
Comcast, I thought AT&T was another one that they'd went out there, and there's a couple of others that have started preliminary discussions. And keep in mind, this is all rumor. This is all hearsay. This is what people on the streets are saying. There hasn't been official word from Disney or Fox. And I know Disney doesn't want to make a comment, because if Disney says, yes, we are in talks to buy 20th Century Fox, the value of that stock skyrockets, which means it becomes more expensive for Disney to buy. So that's something to be aware of.
I am always of the opinion that having everything owned by the same 6 guys is a real bad idea. So as much as it might be wonderful to have, and I think this is the goggles that a lot of pop culture sites are putting on it. The Avengers and the X-Men will be back under the same roof again.
Yeah.
And it will give people who come to these stories from comics something else to talk about other than Marvel versus DC, even though that's not a thing.
I have a smart ass response to that.
Yeah.
But I want to hear Rodrigo's take on this first.
I think if you're hearing that Disney might buy Fox and you're like, oh, good, the X-Men are coming to the MCU, that is an unfortunately nearsighted way of looking at it. And I'll, as an example, a good long while ago, I got a chance to be on the morning stream. Stephen and I went on to talk about my book.
Yeah.
And this was all when Disney was buying LucasArts, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was like, well, that's good, right? Disney has bought the Marvel stuff, or was it the other way around?
Yeah, Disney buys
Marvel.
Yeah, Disney bought Marvel.
Oh, so yeah, so this was, no, that's what I mean. Is like, I just didn't remember which one happened first. Anyway, It was one of those two. And they were talking about, it's like, is this a good thing? Disney lets people do, like, has now had a history over a decade of basically letting properties grow in their own way without too much executive meddling and all this other stuff. And, my response was basically, it's good now. But we're already starting to see part of the problem with this. What happens when Disney takes all of their properties off of Netflix, off of Hulu, off of whatever to start their own streaming service, right? Are you going to shell out an additional $8 to $20 a month just for Disney stuff and then be unable to watch, anything else, Star Wars, Disney, Marvel, in other streaming services? A company like absorbing another set of franchises or whatever is a gain in the short term for fans, but might cause problems in the long term, just because all of those properties are there to serve the bottom line of a single large company.
Mm-hmm.
And just like that, they might just say, well, Star Wars isn't doing what we want, so from here on out, we're not going to do more Star Wars movies. Where not that that's ever going to happen, but it might change the way that they do Star Wars movies. If this was another company who had a vested interest in Star Wars exclusively, then Star Wars movies might continue, or they might try to do different things with them. Again, when everything is there to benefit just like one single mouse at the very top, it can actually start to cause problems for us as consumers.
Yeah. Let's take a look at the top 20 20th Century Fox movies. Avatar. Mm-hmm. Well, that's Disney already has a huge Avatar thing going on in their parks, right? So it's not like picking up the movies is going to net them a whole bunch more money. I mean, it could, but they've already got a deal struck to have Avatar throughout their Wild Kingdom park. Number 2, Star Wars Episode 3, or Episode 1, Star Wars Episode 3 at number 3, Deadpool, Star Wars Independence Day, Star Wars Episode 2 at number 7, Home Alone, Return of the Jedi, Night at the Museum, X-Men, Castaway, The Martian, Logan, Alvin and the Chipmunks, Mrs. Doubtfire, Alvin and the Chipmunks, X-Men, Empire Strikes Back is at number 20. Which of those things does Disney not have a finger in already? Home Alone. That's probably a wrong choice of words there. Night at the Museum and Tom Hanks.
No, I'm sure. No, never mind.
I mean, really, if people are like, oh boy, I sure hope Disney spends $60 billion to buy 20th Century Fox because that means Fantastic Four and the X-Men come to get to be in the Marvel universe. Holy crap. I would be very disappointed if that's the only reason why 20th Century Fox gets bought by Disney for $60 billion. Disney bought Marvel for $4 billion. They bought, what was it? They bought Lucasfilm for about the same amount, $10 billion, something like that. They could buy 20th Century Fox, the movie studio, or the whole company in particular is in financial difficulties right now. And so selling off the film division would be a very good thing. What 20th Century Fox might want to do is just sell back the rights to Disney, to their Fantastic Four and their Marvel and their Star Wars, because I think they still own portions of Star Wars New Hope Episode 4, whatever you want to call it, the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that has caused some problems with Lucasfilm and Disney.
I want to call it Star Wars.
But Disney could just give 20th Century Fox $10 billion and get back both those franchises. Or better yet, they could just wait another 2 years and the Fantastic Four rights would revert back to Marvel anyway. So for Disney to say, I want to spend $60 billion to buy 20th Century Fox, something doesn't smell right about that deal. Yes,
well,
Planet of the Apes is in there. Yes, Ice Age is in there. But man, if you look at the 20th Century Fox, even the top 50, it's mostly X-Men, Ice Age, Night at the Museum, Planet of the Apes. Those are, you see those again, repeated again and again and again in the top 50.
Is this necessarily driven by Disney, though?
No. This is 20th Century. No, 20th Century Fox has some financial difficulties. They're the ones that have gone out and approached these other companies saying, hey, you guys want to buy part of us?
Yeah, Fox basically is trying to divest itself of some assets.
Yeah.
I think on that level, knowing that Disney might be out there, I think we maybe have people who are jumping ahead a little bit and going, wouldn't it be great if, or Disney is in the running, oh my God, here's all this awesome stuff. But I think what it really comes down to me, is going to be the question of, if you're a fan of the X-Men properties you're seeing on TV, the Fox network is not going to be part of that.
Yeah, well, so you're not going
to... That may be the end of your, Fox stuff on Fox TV.
No, actually it won't, because here's the way that works. Fox Studios produces the show. It just happens to be bought by Fox Television. Fox Studios, if it's owned by Disney, could still produce that show for Fox Television if they decided to buy it, or it might go to the FX network. It could go onto the Disney Channel, whereas Rodrigo said it could go behind that upcoming Disney paywall in the next 2 years.
Paywall. Ugh.
But it's not like it means that it's going away off of television completely.
Well, I don't like it.
I don't know. Are you guys
shaking my fist to the cloud?
I mean, whatever. I mean, I think that it's sad that you would have, this greater mega conglomerates going out there and running everything. And of course, with copyright law coming up in 2 years, 3 years, you're going to see a huge Disney presence in Washington, D.C. as they try to extend the copyright probably indefinitely.
Yeah.
And so being able to keep the copyright on Deadpool and Independence Day and a lot of this other stuff might be in their best interest. I don't know. Here's the thing. Somebody was, this was just yesterday, in fact, that someone tweeted out to me. Have you heard any more news about Disney buying Fox Film Studios? And I was like, nope, because right now it's just rumor. And the only reason we're commenting on this is because so many people are talking about it right now. It's not up on the Major Spoilers website because this isn't news. It's speculation. And I hate it when people are like, yep, Disney's totally buying 20th Century Fox, everyone. And it's like, no, it's not. Your headline is bogus. You need to stop this. Now, if you want to have an intelligent conversation about the pros and cons of someone buying 20th Century Fox, that's totally cool. I mean, MGM was bought up and has all sorts of trouble. But right now, this isn't news. It's idle chatter for your comic book Wednesday. That's how I feel
idle
about
nerd
it.
chatter.
Idle nerd chatter. And really, if someone, I would just remind people, if someone's excited about Fantastic Four coming back to Marvel because of this deal, just wait 2 years and those rights will be back at Marvel before you know it. So there you go. Any other thoughts, Matthew or Rodrigo? None.
No.
Seeing none, we will move on to reviews.
Reviews.
Let's see. This week from DC Comics and IDW Publishing, Batman: Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, #1. This is DC's take on the crossover. Last time it was TMNT meets Batman, or whatever that series was at IDW. This is written by James Tynion IV and Freddie E. Williams II doing the art. This is a real beginner. This is like a very, very beginner first chapter. The Foot are fighting the Turtles, and one of their big ninja guys almost kills Donatello. Everyone else comes in and saves him. And they're like, it's a good thing we showed up, Donatello, because you'd be dead. And Donatello's kind of sad because, Master Splinter, I'm just not good like my brothers. And Master Splinter's like, yeah, but you create cool devices. And he's like, you know what I mean. It's not like Batman. Batman's smart and can fight. I know. I will use that device to contact Batman from the last time we had a crossover. And as he's doing so, Batman is discovering that there's a Lazarus pit beneath Gotham City, and he and Damian are rushing to figure out who's in the Lazarus pit right now. Turns out to be Bane. And just as Donatello,
Phyllis Diller,
just as Donatello is pushing that button to send a message to Batman, the Foot show up, mess up the plans, and Donatello gets pushed into Batman's universe, and Bane gets sent to the TMNT universe. Oh my gosh, what is going to happen? I don't know, but I'm going to tune in next Saturday morning to find out. That's a pretty straightforward story as far as the intro goes. I don't know if all of the Turtles are going to appear or if this is going to be a smaller crossover event. Certainly 3 of the Turtles will be fighting Bane while Donatello tries to figure out how to get back to his universe. The story is fine. Freddie Williams' art is solid. The problem that I have with it is the coloring, because it's like, I don't know how to describe it. I don't want to say it's like crayon, but it's like colored pencil on top of ink. And sometimes that looks really good, but in the way that it's rendered in this series, it just looks really odd to me. Maybe it's like a chalk is what it almost looks like. What is it, a gouache? Is that a gouache painting, Matthew, what they use chalk? I don't know. But I'm not a fan of the coloring and the shading in this issue. If it had been black and white, it'd be pretty kick-ass. But because of the coloring, it really detracted from the story for me. It's still a fun story. It's still, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Batman, everybody's pizza-loving fighter and the Ninja Turtles as well. So it's a win-win for everyone. Batman Teenage... Yes. Yeah, that'd be really weird.
I'm calling it right now, Banatello.
Oh man, when Bane appears, because he's just stepped out of the Lazarus pit, you go a little crazy when you step out of that. He's like, he pops into the Ninja Turtles world, and there's all these foot soldiers around, and the head of this Ninja Foot Clan, who's not Shredder.
No.
But he's like, I don't know who you are, but you're about to die, and that's where the issue ends. But like Bane is like 6 times taller than all of the other Ninja Foot Clan soldiers that are there. And it's just like, that is ridiculous in how he's rendered. So,
and next
yeah.
Issue, it's going to start with Bane saying,
maybe.
Quote me on that.
But at least you can understand what he's saying in the comic book pages. This is okay. This is fun. I'm going to give Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, #1, 4 out of 5 slices of meatloaf. This, again, and I'm basing that purely on the story, the art, and it's not because I'm comparing this to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Batman crossover, nor am I saying that this is as good or better than any other Batman title that's out there, or that it is comparative to any other comic book that is out there. By itself, this is big dumb fun, and it's 4 slices of meatloaf out of 5. It's out this week. Yep. Cowabunga Dude. In fact, there's a pretty good Cowabunga Dude joke at the beginning of this issue that I thought was good.
That would be a good name for a superhero.
Cowabunga Dude.
Cowabunga Dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet there's probably already one that's already out there. I bet you could do 10 things on that, Matthew.
I almost couldn't because there isn't.
I bet there is. Is there?
I bet
you could do 10 superheroes whose 10 superheroes who with lame
Whose
battle
name
cries.
are made
With
up
lame
exclamations.
battle cries. Like Cowabunga Dude.
I don't do lame battle cries. I
Oh, yeah.
don't pass judgment.
Yeah, you could. You could do that.
No.
Oh, let's speak of passing judgment. Let's talk about one of your favorite people, the Green Lanterns. In Green Lanterns number 36.
Technically two of my favorite people, because Green Lanterns is the continued adventures of Simon Baz and Jessica Cruz, the awesome possum Green Lanterns of Sector 2814. Because John Stewart is off, I don't know if you guys knew this, on Oa, leading the Green Lantern Corps. One of his honor guard is Guy Gardner. Kyle Rayner is off doing Kyle Rayner things, I don't know, drinking coffee in space Seattle or some crap. And Hal Jordan sucks. So,
not passing judgment, though.
No, certainly not. That would be rude. I'm just pointing out the undeniable fact that Hal Jordan sucks. Right. So Simon and Jessica, this issue is interesting because this issue is all told as a flashback. It's actually courtroom testimony of Simon and Jessica being brought before the Lantern Honor Guard to explain how their last mission ended up with a dead body. You guys remember that first Mogo story a million years ago where Mogo doesn't socialize?
Yeah.
And the crazy jerk Bolfunga the Unrelenting ran across the planet trying to find this mysterious Green Lantern.
Yeah, and it turns out it's the planet. Yeah.
Freaked out.
Yeah.
Bolfunga has returned to Green Lantern in the last few years.
Wow.
He's one of the characters who keeps popping up because, I'm going to say it, Jeff Johns loves the Tales of the Green Lantern stories from the 80s, and there's nothing wrong with that. This issue features Bolfunga, the Unrelenting, and we finally find out about his family, because really, that's what everybody wants to know. When you have an undying berserker with facial scars, superhuman strength, and spikes coming out of his bazooka, you really want to know how his relationship is with his dad. And Bolfunga's dad is named, and I am crapping you negative on this, Boff the Unkillable, which there's a lot of problems with that. I'm just going to move on. So Bolfunga and Boff are having this strange kind of reunion, sort of. And it turns out that Bolfunga actually went looking for his dad on the advice of his lawyer. And Bolfunga's lawyer is called Singularity Jane. And in the first 3 pages of this issue, we see Bolfunga's lawyer eat a spaceship. And it's fascinating because it's not like Matter Eater Lad chomp chomp. It's like she opens her mouth and somehow the singularity within her can just completely.
So she's like Chunk.
Spaceship. Yeah.
Okay.
She does the truffle shuffle. And in these pages, I want you to know this. One of the things that kind of gets on my nerves about Green Lantern since about 2006 is it's always endless wars of light. It's always huge galactic consequences. In every issue has 57 guys and they're all fighting, and it's all life and death every page, every panel, every second. This issue is not that. This issue is actually kind of almost breezy and conversational because Simon and Jessica clearly got out of this life-threatening situation because they're explaining to the Green Lantern Corps what happened. And there's this question throughout the issue of who is the dead body? How did this happen? What's going on? It's actually written by Tim Seeley, who I know mostly from Hackslash.
Yeah, that's what I was got a question about that.
It really has some of the same kind of charm that I enjoy about his work in Hackslash.
Okay.
It has a couple of moments where Jessica, who is cute as a button, I love Jessica Cruz as a Green Lantern because Green Lantern tends to have these really broad personalities. Like Hal Jordan is a man's man in a leather jacket, just swinging his genitalia everywhere. And Guy Gardner is a jerk who takes no crap off of anybody and cuts his own hair with a Flowbee that he got from, the Craigslist. And John Stewart is this ultimate badass who's an architect and a former soldier. And if he gets really bored, he'll make a Green Lantern sniper rifle and just shoot you in the face. And it's just like all this over the top stuff. And Jessica is this weird girl from Los Angeles who has, social anxiety disorder and also has this most powerful ring in the universe. So it's nice to have it feel a little more humanized. It's nice to have a character who is more approachable. It's what I usually call the cabbage head character. Your Wesley Crusher entry level character, only without the ugly sweater.
Mm.
And throughout the issue, we get some really interesting interplay back and forth between her and Simon Baz, who I also enjoy. Simon Baz is great because he has, I don't know, a mask. He's he's a really interesting character on his own, but he's kind of there to be like the light and darkness situation. It's a One's-a movie is what this book is. One's a guy with an attitude problem, and one's a girl who doesn't get out much. And at the end of the issue, they give us a satisfying reveal. They give us a closure to the Bolfunga story, thankfully. They give us some in-depth kind of takes on what's going on behind Jessica's issues and her lack of confidence. It gives a little bit of depth to Bolfunga, which that's not necessarily a sentence that anybody says, and not just because Bolfunga is a nonsense word, but it really does some good stuff within the framework of a Green Lantern, everybody's at war, giant orb light thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it has Salak.
Yeah, you gotta like Salak.
Green Lantern.
Yeah,
his head's a pickle.
Yeah.
How can you not love a guy whose head's a pickle?
Yeah, or Tomar Ray, whose head is like a fish eagle.
Yeah, Tomar Ray, whose head is like a dead because he's been that way for like a decade.
Oh.
But I didn't kill him. What are you blaming me for? Jeff Johns killed him. But I'm going to go with 3 slices of meatloaf for Green Lanterns number 36. Part of that, I'll give it a whole half star for the fact that the title of the story is "Oh, Bolfunga, Where Art Thou?"
Oh boy!
So I go through the issue imagining that Bolfunga is played by George Clooney.
Turned him into a Tomar Ray,
and his father's like, "Go first, Bolfunga." So all the way through it. So yeah, that alone is worth the price of admission.
No, sir, I'm an F Sharp G fan.
I'm an F Sharp male. Oh yeah. Tell us about why there's a dead body. Yeah, now I'm
my frill.
Salak will now always talk like Stephen Root as the blind radio show. Yeah. I remember them boys. They come in here and they sung in the Yonder Can. Ha ha. I would have given an extra half star just for that joke.
Hal Jordan keeps talking about how he's a Dapper Dan man.
Yeah, he's a Dapper Dan. Hal.
He keeps trying to show you his bona fides. No one wants to see his bona fides. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And he's being chased around by, the guy from Super Troopers.
Yeah. His name's Sinestro. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So three slices of meatloaf for you.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. And maybe a little half star if we can get a true "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou" adaptation of the Green Lanterns. Get on that. Get on that, super fans.
I am a poozer.
Get on that.
Sorrow.
Rodrigo, here's one that I saw today, and I think you must have too.
Mm-hmm.
This looks totally crazy. Roscoe, alien wildlife photographer.
Right. Roscoe, alien wildlife photographer. Comes out next week, I want to say.
I think so.
I believe so.
Written by Aaron Humphreys, art and cover also by Aaron Humphreys. And this is a cute book about going to a planet. It's like one specific planet and taking pictures of the local wildlife and sort of what happens to Roscoe, the photographer, who
sorry. Roscoe joke.
Who by the way hangs out with a robot named Vincent. So you got that going for you.
I'm going to call that a shout out.
Yeah. So it's cute. I mean, it is just basically the layout of the book is we go to a particular critter. There's a couple pictures of them, and then a telling of what happened when Roscoe met them. So he's writing like a wildlife documentarian about, his experience. And then after that, a full splash page of Roscoe trying to take a picture of this critter. And it's interesting because when you see the first one, you're like, oh, well, surely Vincent took that second picture. But then there are pictures that have both Roscoe and Vincent in them. And I'm like, who's taking that picture?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a mystery. Of course, there's all kinds of stuff, I'm sure. I mean, this is an alien who's capable of traveling to distant planets. So surely he can set up a tripod and a timer, I guess. But it's just weird. There's not really much of a story here or an arc. It is just kind of these cute little vignettes about space animals and, Roscoe ending up kind of worse for wear about half the time.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a really cute all ages book. This is exactly the sort of thing that I would have loved to have when I was a kid. It has animals that have weird modes of locomotion, animals that have weird camouflage, animals that have weird like biological abilities. It's it's clever, it's creative, it's kind of we all like to imagine what life on other planets must be like, and this is a cute little compendium of a bunch of cool animals.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the art is super cute. There's each individual critter is very distinct from the others, and your protagonist types are cute as well. I'm going to give it 3 slices of meatloaf. It's definitely something that if you've got a young person in your life who is into space aliens, this will make a great Christmas gift. And I believe it's part of a series. So maybe we'll get another one soon.
Yeah, go check it out. That's actually out this week from Action Lab Entertainment. It's a $9.99 hardcover. So just kind of keep that in mind when you rush out to your comic book store. Cool. All right, reviews are done. Head over to majorspoilers.com for even more reviews. Heck, head over to patreon.com/majorspoilers because coming this month, we passed that $2,000 mark goal. And that means Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, coming this month as a bonus tracks for all of our patrons. Be on the lookout for that. Dr. Brad Wills is going to drop some Star Wars knowledge on you. Should be good times. Also, when you head over to majorspoilers.com, you know what you will find over there?
What's that?
The Major Spoilers Poll of the Week.
Poll of the week.
We are going back to the cover edition battle. It continues. This week, our eye is turned toward The Amazing Spider-Man. And which cover do you like best or most? I guess you could use either one, Rodrigo. Is it The Amazing Spider-Man number 50, the one where Peter Parker is walking away from a giant Spider-Man in the sky? Or The Amazing Spider-Man number 301, Todd McFarlane, with all the whippy, ropey, corded spiderwebby thing and the foot that goes above the head?
Yeah. For extra Spidey fun.
Herfta.
This one is actually surprisingly hard.
They should all be hard.
Well, what I mean is, I think okay. That was not a that was not a dig at your comic pairing up stuff, Steven.
Oh, yes. I wasn't saying that. I'm just saying.
Oh, okay.
They're all hard because they're all great.
You're right.
Even Todd McFarlane.
So, if I may.
Yes.
Amazing Spider-Man number 50 tells you a lot with the cover, right? Spider-Man is sad and he's also sad. And Amazing Spider-Man number 301, maybe not so much. You just don't get as much information about, Spider-Man's state of mind or whatever.
Right.
So it might be easiest to be like, well, 50 gives me all the information. I know kind of what this general comic is going to be about. And for 301, it's just because in the cover it says, "Hey, that lady's back." But this was a huge turning point for Spider-Man. This is the Spider-Man that we still have today.
Mm-hmm.
McFarlane's turn on Spider-Man gave us a lot of the visual lexicon of Spider-Man that we still have right now. And some artists dive right into that, some artists tone it down or whatever, but it was a big, important kind of art shift for Spider-Man. So I'm going to give it to 301.
All right.
Despite the fact that you see that Spider-Man 50 sort of replicated over and over and over again in other covers as well.
Right. For me, what year did 50 come out, Matthew? 73? Is that when that came out?
Oh, God. I don't know if it'd be 73. I think it's going to be closer to 68 or 69.
All right. So imagine in July of whatever year this book came out, you head to the stands and there's a bright red cover with Spider-Man's back turned at you and Peter Parker walking away, and it just says, "Spider-Man no more." And then you read this. I mean, just that right alone is just like, what? I gotta pick this up. But then, Amazing
July of 67.
All right, so 67. So then you look at Spider-Man 301, though, and you're like, wow, this is unlike that stiff Spider-Man that I see in the number 50 cover, because he's just kind of like there with his back turned at you, and he's all stiffened up. And this one's all whippity-wappity and loosey-goosey. But, it's got the big Spider-Man eyes, too. The big Spider-Man eyes. That's a McFarlane thing, right? Or is that a Liefeld thing?
That's a McFarlane thing.
Yeah.
Giant spider eyes. But still, there's something about Peter Parker walking away and Spider-Man no more that just hits me every time. And I have to give it to Amazing Spider-Man number 50. Matthew, what about you?
Come back, Spidey.
Come back, Spidey. Don't. I already bought a subscription. You can't be ending now.
That's all right. They'll just turn your subscription over to The Adventures of Indiana Jones.
They totally did that to me once. I actually used to get my comics in the mail. I forget which one it was, but they shifted me over to Avengers. Oh, Heroes for Hire. I was actually subscribed to Heroes for Hire for a while, and then I started getting Avengers, and I'm like, but I was in the middle of a storyline.
Yeah.
And it just got canceled.
That was a great book.
Yeah.
Luke Cage in his white shirt and She-Hulk and the freaky white tiger.
Yep. White Tiger. Always back there somewhere.
Yeah. Did you know that there's
doing so much work?
Did you know there's more than 10 white tigers at Marvel?
Are there really?
You will soon. So this is the thing, because I don't want to ever be the guy who tells you not to enjoy what you enjoy. And if you look at Amazing Spider-Man 301 and you say it's your favorite cover, that is absolutely cool. I don't hate Todd McFarlane the way that I might have thought I did back in 1993 when he was the new hotness and he was everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think that of Romita's work, there are stronger covers than 50. The cover to 123, for instance,
here's a
Luke
hint,
Cage.
Matthew. This is not the last time you're going to see Spider-Man.
123 features Luke Cage punching Spider-Man off a building, and it's this incredibly wonderful overhead shot. But for me, when I look at these two covers, what I'm looking at is not the greatest Romita cover, but definitely one of the, if not the most iconic of the Romita run.
Yeah.
Versus what really looks like a cover inset or a panel chucked from inside the book on a white background. And I feel like just in terms of the use of space and in terms of the design overall, I feel like 50 has to take the prize because, well, actually, if you look at the logos, you notice they both have this almost exactly the same logo, but the logo on 50 is actually a lot better placed and isn't kind of, confusing. And, the big webs in the background, that's a thing.
Oh, yeah,
that is.
Yeah.
I just feel like the design is better. The overall concept is strong. And I would never refer to a Romita figure as stiff.
He's got some stiff shoulders. He needs to get a massage and work some of those kinks out. He's relaxed.
But Romita he's a compatriot of Kirby and Don Heck, whose guys are all like,
well, yeah, Kirby's like the ultimate of loosen up, dude. Your corner of your chin is showing.
By 67, everybody in a Kirby book had square fingers. But yeah, I'm going to go with 50, surprising precisely no one, and also going up to the Spider-Man in the sky.
Yeah. Oh, there's no. So totally, there is no wrong answer in any of these. That's why it says the one. Do you like
more right?
No. That's why the questions for these are always like, which cover do you like most? Not which one is the best, but which one do you like the most? So if Rodrigo likes this 301, that's cool. Yeah. And you're right, Rodrigo. This was a huge turning point for Spider-Man and how he was drawn. I mean, he was and always has been, I think, one of the top sellers at Marvel. And this new art style kind of reinvigorated everything and kind of pushed him back ahead of what was going on with the X-Men at the time, as far as sales and popularity goes.
87, right?
Yeah.
This is the beginning of the 90s in comics, is what you're looking at right here. This cover, this run on Spider-Man, this Todd McFarlane take on the character is in a lot of ways the 90s because it kind of gives birth to Image. It is where Image springs from, and it's a natural kind of outcropping of what happened in the 84, 85, 86 range where everybody was changing. Now the Hulk is gray and Captain America is not Captain America anymore. And James Rhodes is Iron Man. No, wait, Tony's back as Iron Man, but now he looks like a Transformer. All of these wild and wacky changes kind of turned into, hey, you know what we should really change? Human anatomy. Wouldn't it be great if you could put your left foot right next to your head and it'd be twice as big as your face?
That was kind of a big thing that a lot of the older artists really despised about the new generation of 90s artists is that anatomy didn't really matter. And in fact, even being on character, on model from one panel to the next really didn't matter. But it was this style, this energy, this, I don't know if it was
dynamism.
It's
dynamism over anatomy, right? It's
exactly.
The old thing is like, make sure you draw the punch all the way through and then have lines, but the characters are still the same. Whereas the new guys were like, blah, pockets.
And now his eyes can flex because he's got a face.
Yeah. I mean, it is that, right? It's this idea that every panel should be the most dynamic panel that has ever been drawn in comics.
And that was selling.
Just standing there.
That's what was selling. People were buying it for that crazy dynamic art and not for story, not for, I mean, I'm not saying there weren't good stories in the 90s. But
some of these stories were actually pretty solid.
No, but most of the time people were buying into it for the art, and that's why you have Lee and McFarlane and
Eric Larson,
all those guys who
took
just
over after him.
Yeah, they all went from the art side straight into Image Comics. So
and Liefeld, who never actually learned how to draw, but has a light box that he's in love with.
I'll give you a heads up. There are many rankings on best Spider-Man covers of all time. These two fall in the top 25. Number one, obviously, is Amazing Fantasy, which will probably show up on this competition at some point. I was really surprised. I was really surprised at their number 2.
Is it 236?
No, it is Spider-Man. Let me find it here real quick. Web of Spider-Man. No, I'm sorry. Peter Parker, The Spectacular Spider-Man, number 101.
Oh,
John Byrne, 1985, totally black and white. It's a totally trippy cover, but when you're looking like Amazing Fantasy and then this, and you're comparing it even to these two, it's like, wow, that's a really cool cover.
That is a cool cover. Amazing cover.
So I kind of showed my hand of some upcoming Spider-Man covers showing up in this list.
All right.
That happens. We knew it was coming. It had to be something with the
Which one did you say? Spider-Man, which one?
Suit. 236, that first Juggernaut cover, Romita Jr.
Oh, yeah. No, that one is not on there.
Spider-Man walking towards the camera and Juggernaut's big monstrous face in the background.
No, but there was another one, Web of Spider-Man number 1 is on there, which is totally a Batman cover. There's the Amazing Spider-Man number 70, Spider-Man Wanted is on this list.
Web number 1 is a beautiful cover.
Spectacular,
That's Charles Vess.
Spectacular Spider-Man number 2 is on the list. Amazing Spider-Man number 600, 100, and 700 are all on the list, and I think those are all Alex Ross.
Yeah.
There's
700 is for
there's
sure.
the Gil Kane Amazing Spider-Man 131, which is Doc Ock marrying, I guess, a mummy. Oh no, that's Aunt May. Sorry.
He's not his mummy; she's his auntie.
So yeah, we'll see some more.
Works.
We will see some more covers coming because it all builds up to something coming in 2018. But so far, Matthew, how has everyone voted?
Actually, this one's a lot closer than I thought it would be, because me being me, I'm thinking, okay, yeah, we're totally going to have the McFarlane runaway. Because I'm of the opinion that the things that I like are definitely the things that other people don't. And that's not just me being a hipster doofus. That's me, having all of my favorite comic books canceled and replaced with a subscription to Indiana Jones. But 55%, 57 now, I just updated, saying Amazing Spider-Man number 50, 43% in a very close race saying that Amazing 301 is still in the running. There's another one that comes soon after Amazing 301, or maybe right
I think it's like 302.
It's the same pose with the black and white uniform.
Yeah, and I thought there was another one that they did. Maybe I'm thinking of Joe Quesada did a cover of Spider-Man like flying through the sky, kind of in this same pose, but maybe from a different angle. But he's like above, he's either above the Empire State Building or he's above the Twin Towers when they were still up. And it's like, how is Spider-Man swinging that high, and what is that web attached to? If he's swinging that high.
Definitely ham.
Yeah, and it's really cool, kind of
Spider Ham?
Yeah, Spider Ham.
Spider Ham.
Listeners,
he's a spider who was bitten by a radioactive pig.
Listeners, head over to majorspoilers.com, cast your vote in the Major Spoilers poll of the week.
Week.
Do it now.
Steven.
Yes.
Steven.
What?
Before I forget.
Okay.
I have to remind you.
Okay.
It's almost the end of 2017, so...
Yeah. Yeah, I knew that was coming, huh? Hey, you know what? We did miss.
What did we miss?
Last week was a fifth week. And we're going to correct that this week.
Forgot to do.
I know. We forgot to jump back into our Amalgam universe. And I think these are the final two of the first series of the Amalgam universe. I'm pretty sure.
They're not. They should be.
I'm going to say that this will be the final Amalgam team up books that we read for the rest of this year.
I'm going to go out on a limb here. Well, for the rest.
Let us start.
I'm going to say it now.
What?
Are you ready? I'm going to say it now. I think I've said this the last 3 times we've gone to Amalgam. But to date, this is the strongest pair of Amalgam titles we've read.
Okay.
Yes.
Because once again, I sit here and I'm like, one of these I really, really like. The other one, not so much.
X-Patrol.
Yeah, the other one is X-Patrol. Let's start with X-Patrol. What is good about X-Patrol?
X-Patrol is a savage
Oh yeah, it just really rips it all to heck.
Of 90s comics, and the Liefeld, the Image, the hey, let's put all these cool guys together, but not necessarily have a whole lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Substance behind it. But it's still it's drawn by a guy who is clearly wanting to be the guy from Battle Chasers.
I don't think so, because I looked at this and I'm like, this guy is really trying to be Rob Liefeld.
He's trying to be a little bit of everybody, but I mean, he really...
This is Roger Cruz, who's the penciler on this.
Yeah, Roger Cruz has a thing. On those first couple of pages, when you look at the Wasp, who is also Domino, who is also Elastigirl, and you look at her face, I'm just like, man, this looks like the guy from Battle Chasers. What is his name? Madureira?
Madureira. Yeah.
Madureira.
Joe Mad.
Yeah. X-Patrol is interesting because it's one of the books that isn't afraid to just go dumb, to go incredibly broad with, okay. Shatterstar and Starfire are bonded into one amalgam. What are we going to call her? Shatter Starfire.
Yeah.
I mean, that's almost subtle in its lack of subtlety.
No, because they do this with all of them. It's Dr. Doomsday, which is Dr. Doom and Doomsday together.
So there are multiple amalgam naming conventions, right? You have your Batman plus Wolverine is brand new name, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Neither one of those characters has the word dark or claw, but that's their main deals. So it would be if like Superman and Captain America got mixed together and their name was Cornbread. Thank you. Then you have your like this is just both characters, right? Your Dr. Doomsday, your Shatter Starfire.
Yep.
And then there are your like
your weird stuff like Dial H for Husk.
Right. Just like, I mean, yeah. It's there's kind of a third category, and that largely tends to happen when characters are like an amalgam of like 3 or 4 characters. That starts to get even more complicated.
Yeah.
The Pharaoh Man that we see in this issue, who is half the Legion's Pharaoh Lad and half Colossus of the X-Men.
And
that's half Man in a Can, maybe?
Right.
Is that supposed to be a thing too?
Pharaoh Lad couldn't take off his mask because his face is horribly scarred. And that, I think, is what's going on. But when you have that's something where they're combining the people based on their theme, which is kind of what we saw with Bruce Wayne, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
Where you take that character, that, super spy playboy Bruce Wayne and super spy tough guy, Nick Fury, and do something weird with it. But I do love one thing about X Patrol.
Okay.
It is one of the most 90s comics I've ever read from top to bottom, because it starts out inexplicable. It shows us, and it's clearly the first issue, and it says this is the first issue, and it treats us at a first issue.
Right.
But we are also, in the story, we're supposed to believe that all of these schmucks have this long and involved history that we just don't know about. Everybody in the 90s had a secret backstory and a history, and they were probably from the future or somebody's mom, or both, because moms can be from the future. And you have all of this stuff that is clearly a distillation of what it would have been issues of subplots and backstory and continuity. And this feels very much like X Patrol is that perfect 90s comic. It's 9 guys you knew slabbed together as the New Warriors or X-Force or the Teen Titans. Yeah. You slap all these things together and you add all these little personality quirks and clashes that don't really mean anything, and it's literally 20 pages of sound and fury. It starts on a cliffhanger, it ends on a cliffhanger. There's nothing about it that is not pure top of your lungs 90 comics hyperbole. And if you're totally into that, like we know, Jason is, and we know a lot of people are, and again, I'm not judging you, bro. I'm not judging you. I'm just saying it's not necessarily my bag.
Oh, yeah. No, this is
a really great take on it.
Yeah, you're right. If someone's really, truly parroting everything that's wrong with the 90s, this is it. Or not everything wrong with the 90s. Everything that you remember from the 90s. Yes, emblematic.
So I'll say this. If you compare this to JLX,
I had the same problem. I had the same problem with JLX, too.
Sure. Yeah. But this is a way better version of it, right? In JLX, it's hard to tell what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this one has got a story.
It's clear. You can tell, like, the characters are these very broad characters, and they're like, I am a proud warrior. I'm mad at things. I'm a jokester. And that's it. And you're just flying by the seat of your pants from there on out.
And then
just kind of punchy until the end.
Yeah. And this issue has one key moment for the whole amalgam thing where, what's his name? Dr. Cable, X-Man.
Niles Cable.
And Elastigirl are checking on Dr. Doomsday's computer, and they're like, oh my gosh, he's building up an army of twisted, splintered versions of our own heroes. And you see Wolverine and Superman and Spider-Man and Wonder Woman and Batman, and he goes, second rate perhaps, but if he brings them here under his control, this must be stopped. But I don't know if I can crack the computer code in time. Oh, it's just so great. That is like the best part about it because they're calling out, hey, this is something's messed up here. And of course we don't find out from, what was his name? Cypher, or what was the guy's name that brought it all together? Or the guy that knew the key to everything that was going on. What was his name?
In which?
In this whole amalgam thing. He was like
Access?
the Access. That's who it was. Cypher.
Yeah.
Yeah, it all works.
Cypher. Yeah, it's all the same thing.
Yeah.
I will say this about X Patrol. X Patrol, aside from many, many, many loving butt shots of Shatter Starfire, has the single greatest amalgam character ever in the form of Dial Husk, because Dial Husk allows you to do multiple amalgam jokes. And within this book, we see her become Mary Marvel Girl. I so love that concept. At one point, she becomes Polaris, who's a combination of Marvel's Polaris and DC's Dr. Polaris. I mean, it's all of the little things that you couldn't do. So you've got this character who can just embody anything. She is the one perfect character in all of Amalgam. She is the one person that I can say there is literally nothing wrong with Dial Husk. That character should be in the Marvel Universe right now.
Yeah.
Or the DC Universe, depending on who owns it. I don't know.
Then we get Super Soldier, which is a combination of Captain America and Superman, where in 1938 a rocket crashed and the government took the alien inside, used its DNA and added it to their own Super Soldier formula. And when they injected, Clark, he turned into the Super Soldier. And then, he falls into the ocean fighting a giant metal monster who is going to blow up Washington, D.C. And then 50 years have passed. And this is all told through the eyes of one 50 years later, probably 60-year-old Jimmy Olsen.
Ancient Jimmy Olsen.
Who looks exactly like Rorschach.
Walter Kovacs.
And then you got a green Lex Luthor who steps out of the shadows. And I'm like, why the hell is Moloch in this book? And then I'm like, wait a minute. Who did the frickin' art on this? Dave Gibbons. Of course. This is good art.
It is. It is beautiful art, and it's got some really clever stuff in it. And it really works, because one of the major complaints that I have in modern parlance is people who try to tell me that Captain America and Superman are the same character, because both of them have kind of an all-American red, white, and blue earthiness. They're definitely the same guy, and they're not.
Right.
They are literally. They almost couldn't be further apart, because one is literally a soldier from the city who wanted to go and fight, and the other is a farm boy who doesn't wish to fight but has to fight his never-ending battle because he has these things that he has to do. His powers are inherent. Captain America's powers were given to him out of a sense of duty. And in a lot of ways, they are diametrically opposed. And Mark Waid, who wrote this.
Yeah, that's the other part of this that really works.
Really good job of putting that on the page where we can see it. Seeing that if you combine Captain America, the super soldier, with Superman, the protector of all the innocents, you get something entirely weirder and entirely different. And the fact that they gave him a shield made of the House of L symbol from the front of the rocket ship that dead Kal-El crashed Earth in. I mean, I love that. I love the image of Super Soldier floating around with his S shield and his Captain America suit with Superman trunks.
And fighting a giant Nazi robot.
Yeah, the Ultra something. Darkseid.
Yeah, pretty much. I guess. No, Giant Metallo. Ultra Metallo is his name.
Ultra Metallo.
Part Ultra Humanite, part Metallo.
Yeah, Hitler's brain.
Glowy Hitler brain, yeah.
And he's got kryptonite inside him, of course, because he makes the K-bombs. And we find out, or Clark finds out by the end of the issue, no wonder I've been growing weaker in this time period. Lex Luthor set off all these K-bombs, which are kryptonite. And so now they've populated the atmosphere, and I'm growing weaker every day. But I know
the K,
I can fight on.
By the way, here stands for the Kansas Load.
Is that what it is?
Which is where?
That's
where he discovered the kryptonite.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because nobody knows that krypton exists in this.
Yeah. No. It's really great. Rodrigo, what'd you think about Super Soldier?
I mean, it's it is a really good distillation of a very classic Captain America story and or a very classic Superman story.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh no, a bad guy has a robot and it's heading for the White House.
Yeah.
And then there's punching, and what I like about it is that you can argue that Superman fixes most of his problems by just punching them, right? Nothing is stronger than Superman, so how could he ever be in trouble? And this does a good job of sort of having this character, Super Soldier, as a stand-in for both Superman and Captain America, figure out a problem, try to be clever about it, and also just show how much lead is still in all of these cities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's very dangerous.
Drink them water, drink it deep. Yep.
It is.
Yep.
Well, and this is the 90s.
Well, this also has probably one of the greatest, cheesiest clues reveals, short of a Silver Age Legion of Superheroes, where Jimmy Olsen is all beat up because he escaped from Lex Luthor and Hydra, comes busting in, and he's got his watch set to 4:00, and he's like, Washington at 4. And he hands it to Clark, and Clark turns into Superman and flies off to Washington, and he's like, what could it be? And then he looks down, and the sun is casting a shadow on the Washington Monument, and the Washington Monument shadow at 4:00 is pointing directly to the building where the Hydra agents are. It's just like, wow, man. That's some crazy.
I love that.
I do too. It is just so golden age kind of thing where this character has been ripped from. I mean, it's just perfect.
And Lex being a kryptonite irradiated green skull.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love that. That is so neat. And that's a really interesting way to amalgamate Lex with the Red Skull, because it all makes sense. Lex was not necessarily a Nazi, but you've got that whole kind of backstory that you can all tie together. And I love the fact that they deal with the passage of time.
Mm-hmm.
Since this is a one shot, you can actually say it's been 50 years. Lex is 50 years older. Jimmy is 50 years older, even though, 25 years after this book was still being printed, if amalgam was still a thing, they'd have had to come up with another reason for why these people are still alive. So
sure.
I love the fact that they play with the limitations of the form, and they play with the limitations of this limited series kind of format, this alternate universe thing, and have it do interesting things in the story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. This is, of the two, this is my favorite. And next to, what was the other one that I said was my favorite out of all of these? I forget. But this one is
Bullets and Bracelets. I
think, yeah, that one.
You loved,
I really did like that one. I really did like that one. But Super Soldier, I think this is it. I mean, Dave Gibbons, Mark Waid, Superman, Captain America. What's not to like? What about you guys? You have a preference on one of these?
I think this may be the strongest, just standalone, right up there with maybe Iron Lantern of the amalgam books, just as the standalone. Because as first run, you have a lot of books that were strong but flawed. Like Amazon was a book that had a lot going for it. The only thing it didn't have was a clear explanation of what the hell it was.
Mm-hmm.
Or you have, the ones that popped up and it's like, here's a single issue in an ongoing story that you'll never hear and that you'll never see more of. And if you read this, you're a jackwagon, like JLX. But I enjoyed JLX up to a point. I feel like Super Soldier works as a one shot. It works as a glimpse into a universe that we may never get back to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I can almost guarantee you in this current publishing climate, we won't. There's
still the second run of amalgam,
Hey,
yeah.
If someday Disney might just buy the DC properties off of Warner Brothers, and then we'll have amalgam all day long.
They just might buy Warner Brothers. You never know. Put that in your rumor mill. Disney in talks to buy Warner Brothers. Both. You heard it here first.
Buy them both, and just from now on, only print amalgam. Because
they do that.
Intellectual property.
They do that.
I'd like to see them do that.
Yeah.
I dare them. I triple dog dare them.
No, please no.
To stick their tongue on that pole in the backyard.
Disney might just do it. Hey, speaking of Disney, you know what comes out on the 15th of this month? Star Wars Episode 8. For some odd reason, my sons had their holiday program tonight. And so my parents, their grandparents, drove out 5 hours to come out here to watch this wonderful program that my children were in. He says as he tries to swallow the bile. But my dad, like, we're sitting at a table. My dad is not a big talker. He doesn't talk a lot. He doesn't like to talk a lot. The only thing he talks about is Star Wars. He's like, so is everybody here excited to see Star Wars in a couple of weeks? I'm like, I guess. I mean, Dad, there's a Christmas program tonight. Your kids are, doing good at school. Yeah, Star Wars. I bet you guys are excited about that. Like, okay, Dad.
Stars and Warsons.
He and Mom really, when that movie first came out, the first one, he just was over the moon about that movie. It's kind of like, remember in that 70s show where Red doesn't want to go see Star Wars? And then he's sitting there and then the Death Star blows up and Red's like, oh my God, this is wonderful. That's kind of how my dad was about Star Wars. It's just like totally flipped for it.
I always picture your dad as Red Foreman.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Yeah, except he would kick your ass. I don't know. So anyway, Star Wars Episode 8 opens on the 15th. We're going back next week on the Major Spoilers podcast, and we are looking at a classic Star Wars arc that has to do with Han Solo, a giant fuzzy green rabbit,
right,
and a girl in a pink space bikini.
Hey, don't forget the Don Quixote jokes.
Oh yes, issues 7 through 10 of the Marvel 1978 Star Wars run next week on the Major Spoilers podcast.
The very first expanded universe stories ever.
Yep, because they tell what happens after the first Star Wars.
Yep.
And as we move,
so wrong.
It is. We'll talk about this next week. But man, what is amazing is it's like, yeah, we got this Star Wars movie. Okay, you guys can continue to tell stories, and then they're kind of like, oh, whoa, wait a minute. We need to have some oversight on these comics and try to slowly steer this ship into Empire Strikes Back, which is coming out in a few years. Yeah, it's going to be
all
wild.
That's next week.
Yep, on the Major Spoilers podcast. Thank you, Rodrigo, for joining us this week. Matthew, as always, it's fun to have you here. Star Wars, number 7 through 10 on the Major Spoilers podcast. Why? Because we know you love comics. We do too. And we will talk with you soon.
Stop talking about comic books or I'll kill you. I don't care if the Hulk could defeat the Man of Steel. I'm gonna rearrange your face if you continue to debate whether Logan's claws could pierce Steve Rogers' shield. I just couldn't care less if they bring back Kraven. And I don't care if Spider-Man's a clone. Stop spending all our cash on back issues of The Flash, or I swear to God you're gonna spend your twilight years alone.
This podcast is copyright 2017 by Major Spoilers Entertainment, LLC.